Hey everybody, welcome back to the DeBord Room. I am joined by Alex Krogan here momentarily. Tonight we're going to talk about the midway point of the NBA season. There's Alex. Boom. What's up, Alex?
What's going on, buddy? Sorry about that. I left my drink on the counter.
You're good. You had to yell at people for not giving you the proper food, so I get
Yeah,
it.
man. Why you pay for something and then somebody argues with you didn't pay for it when it's right on my receipt? It's kind of funny.
Some people don't know how to read. But how was your weekend? How's everything going?
Everything's good, man. My new softball team, we played in our first tournament. We didn't do as hot as we expected, but we improved every game. So it's really all you can ask for with a brand new team with a bunch of new pieces. So it was exciting, man, to get out there. It was cold as I don't know what. It said it was 45, but there were 10 to 20-mile wind gusts, and I mean, it felt like it was 32. My hands were frozen most of the weekend. It's kind of tough when you're pitching.
65 here. It's like I'm going out with my coat on after work, and I'm like, why the hell am I wearing a coat?
Yeah, so today it was 70 down here, right? Said it was going to be 65 to 68. It was 70, so it was nice. Went to the park, did some BP, played with my son, so that was fun. And then Thursday it's supposed to be like 74 or something. I mean, it's getting warm, and then we're going to shift towards the weekend. It's going to get rainy and a little bit colder, like in the 50s. Yep. But I can handle 50s and rain. I'm fine with that. It's that 40-something with 10 to 20-mile wind gusts, and where it feels like it's 30-something that I'm just too old for now. I used to run hot, but now I'm freezing my butt off when I step out the house.
Yeah, we have a rainy weekend ahead, but I think it's supposed to be mid-60s all weekend, so I can deal with it. Not a big deal. It's better than the 30s and snow we were having a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's rough moving from the west to the east coast, man.
Oh, dude, yeah. We just have weather out here. We don't have seasons.
Yep.
But speaking of, so this is NBA specific, but we were talking about before we came on, we can't go a damn week without something NFL related happening, so we have to address it. It'd be ridiculous if we didn't at least bring up the fact that after 3 years, 2 or 3, it feels like 25 years these two teams are negotiating. But Dak finally got his contract, 4 years, 160, 126 guaranteed. His salary cap number, so he got a $66 million signing bonus, $9 million in base. He'll make $75 million this season by itself. That's the highest guarantee in NFL history, and his contract guarantee over the first 4 years is double Patrick Mahomes's, which literally double on the dot. So, Alex, what's your thoughts on this deal?
Listen, man, from everything that's been reported, Dak's agent is at 100% probably the shrewdest agent in sports in general, right? I mean, people don't like dealing with him because he normally gets the best for his client. So Dak won this in every facet. Now, listen, the Cowboys did a really good job as far as this year with giving him that much money and that bonus. He only counts for 22 and a half, which if you look at it, I mean, I think it's like 21st or something like that for as far as overall cap hit. It's not very high. They're only $1 million over the cap right now, projected cap, right? They're going to restructure deals. I mean, me personally, I think they should cut Zeke or find a trade partner for him to get him off the books. That was a terrible deal. I mean, I think he counts for 24 this year. That's insane that your running back counts for more than your quarterback. I've always been a Dak fan. I think he deserved to get paid. The way the market is trending, though, it's insane, right? Not too many teams win with quarterbacks, accumulating or eating up 20% of your salary cap. It just doesn't have. You just don't have enough piece of money to spread around to other pieces, right? They could have used some of that other money later on in this deal because it's really a 6-year deal. People don't talk about the 2 throwaway years, but that's a big deal. So because they were able to spread the money out over the 6 years, it helps the salary cap situation. So Dak did give in a little bit. But if you look at it, I mean, I shared a meme earlier, right, about Tom Brady continues to take pay cuts and restructures his deals, and all the other quarterbacks continue to make more money. And then they all say, well, how does Tom Brady keep winning Super Bowls? It's funny. How does he keep winning Super Bowls? Because it's more important his legacy than his money. And now I understand. He's got Giselle Bundchen at home. She makes a crap ton of money. He'll never make as much as she makes. And he's got a huge amount of endorsement deals. But every time I turn on the TV on ESPN or Fox or whatever, Dak is on there, selling something. Campbell's soup, watches, mattresses, whatever, right? So he's making a lot of money too. And the fact that I don't put him anywhere in the realm of Russell Wilson, but I think he made triple what Russell Wilson made in endorsements last year, which I think is hilarious, right? So getting back to the contract, I think it's a good deal for both. It was inevitable. A lot of Dallas fans are not happy because they paid him $40 million a year, 35, whatever you want to call it. 42, I think, is what it equals out to, right? They're not happy about it, right?
42 over the first three, and I think the last year was like 24 or something.
Right. So, Brian. Well, I'm sure you know him from, he's a diehard Cowboys fan.
He's not happy.
He's trashing this deal. Absolutely trashing his deal. And then you got Tony on the other hand, Quigley, right? Both from Sportsbox. He's accepted the fate, right? This is what you have to do with quarterbacks, right? I'm in the same spot, unfortunately, right? Baker's going to probably reset the market too, right? Which is insane because he's no better than a top 15 quarterback, which I really think that's what Dak is, if we're being honest, because Dak has every built-in advantage with the offensive line he had for years, with all these offensive weapons. And so it is what it is. Unfortunately, this is the NFL now, right? And so the next guy gets the next big deal, and it sucks, especially if it's your team when he comes up for it. But the Deshaun Watson deal looks kind of like a bargain now, doesn't it?
Yeah. He's out there for the taking.
The Jared Goff deal looks like a bargain, and everybody was killing those deals. But they signed him early. They got him for less, and now it looks pretty salary cap friendly if you got one of those guys. So it is what it is. I think Dak overwhelmingly won this trade.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that he can't be franchised again, the fact that they wrote into the contract he's going to be franchised this year, and then the deal will take effect so that he can't be franchised. I mean, that's huge for him, number one. Number two, he has a no trade clause, right? So if Jerry wanted to be sneaky and sign him to this deal and then work out a deal if Seattle was willing to take him plus another piece to get Russell, now he can't do it, right? So his agent was very shrewd. Dak bet on himself. America loves stories where people bet on themselves. And it sounds funny to say that Dak was the underdog in this, but he really was, right? The NFL franchise is, represents the big bad conglomerate, right? They're the billionaires, and these poor millionaires are being picked on by them because they decided to sign, agreements with their players union to be able to be treated like this. I mean, it's their fault. All of it boils down to this, right? So he cashed in. I'm happy for him as a player. I'm happy for him as a fan of another team because it means it makes them more vulnerable. It is what it is. I think he got what he deserved, if you can call it that, right, for the new guy up with the new deal, right? But the next deal, when Josh Allen signs his deal, it's going to dwarf this one probably. It'll probably be closer to Patrick Mahomes. It'll probably be closer to Patrick Mahomes' deal. But Dak got the last laugh because in the end, the amount of money, even though Mahomes' deal looks like it dwarfs his, Dak makes $100K less a year over the next 4 years than Patrick Mahomes does because of no state tax in Texas. Mm-hmm. That's hilarious to me, right? It's absolutely hilarious. So Dak really, he got the best you could get out of this deal. I feel like he won. Yeah, he had to do a little bit longer, the 4-year deal. But in the end, I mean, I think he won in every aspect of this deal. I think Dallas did get a little bit towards the end where they threw in the way they worked the salary cap and the huge bonus. But if you look at it, I mean, I think he made $101 or $102 million in the last 2 years. Like, that's money, not contract. That's physical money that he got deposited in his bank account after tax, whatever, right? He made a crap ton of money for the last 2 years of football. And he's coming off a very bad injury with his ankle being broken the way it was. And he still cashed in. He bet on himself. He beat the system. He beat the house. It's like when you go to casino. He won. I mean, in every aspect to me, he won this overwhelmingly.
Yeah, and in the future, he'll hit the market again when he's 31.
When this big money comes in too.
Yeah, so I mean, look at Mahomes now. I was talking to my dad's a diehard Cowboys fan, so I was talking to him about this last night as soon as it dropped, and I told him, first, I'm happy for us because we've been talking about this for years now. The media's been talking about it. Cowboys fans are talking about it. You hear it on ESPN. If they don't have anything to talk about, this is what they talk about. We don't have to hear about it no more. Dak's there. He got his contract. We don't have to ask when or how or why. We don't have to hear any more of these rumors anymore. That's number one. Number two, in 4 years, when you look at the quarterbacks coming up, Lamar, Baker, wait until Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and all these other guys in 5 years start coming up. The number for quarterbacks could be $70 million a year if these TV contracts keep going up and going up and going up. So Dak's going to have a chance at the age of 31, which is still a young age, to come back and cash in again. So not only is he going to make $160 million now, he could come back and get a $400 million contract over 6 years after, because the TV contracts, the NFL just went to the TV networks and asked for double. That's where they wanted to start. They wanted to start negotiations at double. That's ballsy, but that's when you know you have all the leverage, because somebody's going to pay to show the NFL. It's the biggest sport in the world right now. I'll give soccer it, but that's more overseas. Football is the biggest state in the United States. So good for Dak. I like Dak. I think Dallas saw, man, life without Dak really sucks. We better keep him. And then they probably did look at Russell Wilson. Could we swing a trade? No, that's not realistic. They probably looked at every other avenue they had and were like, we can't do better than this guy. Plus, it's a terrible look if you outright release him or something like that after he just broke his damn ankle for you. And let's be real, he was doing everything for Dallas the first 4 or 5 games he played. I think he had almost 20 touchdowns. He's the only thing that was working. Their defense was – it's funny, when he got hurt, their defense starts playing better. If they played good when he was healthy, he probably wouldn't have had to run so damn much. Good deal for Dak. In the end, it's not the greatest deal for Dallas, but it's their own fault. 2 years ago, they should have gave him $33 million a year, which they could have. They prioritized Zeke and they prioritized making Zach Martin the highest paid lineman, which I will not argue that, because he's one of the best guards in the NFL. But they prioritized Zeke. Then they gave Cooper the most money for a wide receiver at that time. So you have to prioritize your quarterback. You don't have
highest paid quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and defensive end, all on the same team.
And
all on the same team.
Jalen Smith's a top 3 paid linebacker.
Oh yeah, he's top 3.
So
insane.
You can't pay everybody. Tyrone Smith, $17.5 million. I mean, they just, like you said, they're going to restructure a bunch of deals. The Dallas will be fine. There's already talks about shopping. They're shopping Michael Gallup. They're trying to get secondary help. It's a good deal for both teams. Very happy for Dak. Good for him. Hopefully he comes out and performs this year. Mike McCarthy and Dak both have a lot of pressure on them now. Dak got his big contract, and Mike McCarthy is going to get a full offseason, full training camp, full draft, workouts, everything. They both have a lot to prove this year. A lot of people wanted Mike McCarthy fired, which I thought was insane. But Dak and McCarthy's back. Dak's back. Dak got his contract. Now he's going to have to perform, or he's going to be the guy getting criticized this year. So
does he have to perform? He could. I mean, I would take my time coming back from injury. I'd do. He
said he's ready by April.
I know.
Dallas is already there's talks with New England. Stephon Gilmore's injury is kind of holding things up, but Dallas has entered the fray and has been trying to throw in Michael Gallup as a sweetener because he's coming into the last year of his deal, and they're not going to pay another receiver. They just drafted CeeDee Lamb, who they didn't even need at that point. So, I mean, if you add another corner, you spend the rest of your money that you get from restructuring and your draft capital now. Now they can use that draft capital to attack the defensive side of the
Yep.
ball.
They need
And
to pick
maybe
up another offensive lineman.
Yeah, they
That
can.
should probably be
If
their
one of those tackles fall, you
that should
pounce
probably be
at
their
10.
first round pick if they can get one of those tackles.
Yeah. They
Maybe
said they
you
might
maybe you
fall.
use some trade capital or something from next year, 22 or something like that.
Yeah,
But
they got some.
the problem with Dallas is and I hate to give Tony any credit, but he had a point. Brian was going off right about why do you do this? Draft a quarterback, right? On that same note, this team is aging, right? Their window is maybe 2 to 3 years maximum, right? So you have to
They are.
cash in now. You have to cash in now. You have to try and make it work now. And so you got to go all in now. So trade away some pieces for next year as far as your draft capital goes to get you one of those tackles right now. You know what I mean? Maybe come back up in the second round to draft 2 defensive linemen or a linebacker. You need to sturdy up that defense and that offensive line. You need a tackle. You have to come out of this draft with a starting tackle, maybe a defensive tackle, and probably a linebacker, maybe a corner. You got to hit on all those draft picks or in free agency, whichever one you're going to do. You got to figure it out.
Not even being a homer. I'd call New England like, hey, I'll give you a 3, a 5, and Michael Gallup for Gilmore right now. I bet you Bill accepts that like that. 2
He
draft
will
picks.
jump on that
receiver.
deal in a heartbeat. It gives him
So
a
now you
wide
have-
receiver for 1 year, even a rent job, wide receiver.
Yep.
It gives him more capital in the draft to a 3 and a 5 round. Like, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, and Gilmore is for what he is, even though he's not the number one corner in the NFL.
He had a really bad year last year.
But he's not the number one corner in the NFL anymore. Let's be realistic,
No, he's
right?
not.
But he's still probably a top 5 to top 10,
He is.
right?
He's going to play with a chip this year too. I would expect.
Right, and if he goes to Dallas, they have a history of paying players. So if he gets there and they can figure out and navigate this, salary cap for next year, which is going to rebound, maybe he gets paid there, right? Maybe he gets a sweetheart deal on the back end. If I'm any aging player, I go to Dallas if I get a chance because they're going to pay you.
Well, just think, you look at Malcolm Butler. I'm not saying Malcolm Butler is the answer, but like if you can get him for $2 million,
he's out there.
He's out there. $2 million, throw him in the damn slot and cut Anthony Brown.
Yeah, if that's your slot,
I mean, why not?
Your slot corner, that's an upgrade to what you have right now.
Well, look, we talked about this, and we'll get into this a lot more next week because there will probably be a lot more cuts and possibly some trades between now and then. Because next week's it's going to be NFL free agency because it starts next Wednesday at midnight, I think. So I think the negotiating period will actually be started when we're on the air next week. You're going to see players get cut left and right. Dallas is going to have the ability to go after some of these veterans for cheap and bring them in.
Yeah, listen, I think this really, number one, it gives them a direction for the draft, right? It lets them know.
You're set.
We have our quarterback locked up. We need a tackle because we got to protect him because he's coming off a bad ankle injury. That was a bad break, right? For an ankle break to take he's not going to be ready till April. You got to be careful with him. You got to protect him. Like he's been used to being protected by one of the best offensive lines in the NFL all of his career, right? So you need to get close to that. You're not maybe never going to be number one again, but if you can be top 10, that gives him time. He is a mobile guy. We'll see how this injury affects him. Is he hesitant or whatever? But I like Dak overall, right? I think this is a bad deal as far as the money, but it's just a precedent we've set with the NFL has set with quarterbacks. It's the market. He's going to get what he's going to get. If he'd have went somewhere else, he'd have got it from somewhere else, right?
Do you remember when so we'll start transitioning toward basketball. So do you remember, so we're Cavs fans, do you remember when Cleveland gave Tristan 4 years, $80 million?
Yeah.
Were you like me and you're like, what the living hell are they doing? That dude's not worth $20 million. He can't score 8 points a game.
And I think I threw up in my mouth.
Well, then 5 years later, you have third string centers that don't play making $18 million a year. And you're like, oh, the Cavs were just trying to beat the market to where it was. Because if it was That was about 2015-ish. So if that happened in 2020, Tristan's worth 35 million. If Mason Plumlee's worth 20.
Right.
So
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I mean,
the
it's
market dictates it. Good deal for Dak. And for Dallas, it's not the worst deal.
no, listen, I think they did the best they could. Dallas got the best that they could have
They have
out
the
of this
monkey off their back
situation.
now. They
Right.
have a quarterback. Let's see if we can restructure Zeke. Let's see if we can because
And the East is terrible. So, I mean, besides Washington, and Washington doesn't have a quarterback right now. So, if Washington doesn't figure out the quarterback situation in the
I
offseason,
can't believe they cut out.
it's Dallas's decision. It's Dallas's division to win, right?
Yeah,
like
the Giants
on paper right now.
Mark.
On paper right now, Dallas is the best team in that division.
Easy.
Because Washington doesn't have a quarterback. Now, if Washington gets a, let's say, middle of the road, middle tier quarterback, right? I think with that front seven and that defense, they'll be competitive and they'll be fighting with Dallas for this, right? It'll be Dallas. It'll be a two-horse race.
That's why tackles should be prioritized for them going forward.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to go against that defense in Washington without tackles.
Because you want to throw Collins back at right guard, and you want to get a tackle to put on the right side to start developing to take Tyrone Smith's place because that
100%.
dude's not getting any younger. And
right.
He's getting more expensive. Like New England has we were talking before we came on where that Trent Brown deal happened today. New England hit on that guard from Michigan, right? He can slide right over to left guard now. Take Joe Tooney's spot, who's going to make $18 million a year or something crazy. He makes $800,000. Take that $17 million, use it elsewhere. Dallas can do the same thing. Find a tackle, replace Tyrone Smith. Maybe not this year, but next year. He is like 34 years old. And he's been hurt every year for the last 3. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I'm glad this is done and this is not going to be a topic. So now all we need is for Deshaun to either stay or get traded so we don't have to talk about him anymore, and I'll be happy. I'm ready for all the other shit, but I'm already burnt out on Deshaun Watson.
Well, listen, I mean, I was burnt out on Deshaun Watson the moment he opened his mouth after he signed that big-ass deal.
You signed a contract after you traded your best player away. But anyway.
You knew what you were getting into. Get over it.
Speaking of somebody who knows what they're getting into, Blake Griffin got bought out by the Pistons. Congratulations to Blake for getting out of a terrible situation where I feel like he's been there for 50 years. But he will get a chance to compete for a ring. I think Brooklyn is by far the best team in the East at this point. And he adds depth. How big of a deal is this, Alex? I mean, Blake Griffin is a pretty decent hit in the month of March.
Blake Griffin is a never was, never will be. Listen, the guy jumped over a Kia in a slam dunk contest. To me, that's his claim to fame. Now, listen, does he improve them? Sure, absolutely. A guy like that coming off your bench, 100%. Now, they'll probably try and goof off and put him in the starting lineup, which I think I'm fine with. Because that just clogs them up in the middle, which is hilarious to me. Because with Kyrie and Harden on the same field or on the same court together, right? You need the middle open. They produce in space. And so Blake, what does he do? He's not a jump shooter.
They got him as the backup center right now.
So there you go. If you keep him as the backup center, then it really helps them. It helps them with depth. They're going to have the biggest names in probably the second round exit of an NBA team, which is going to be funny to me. But listen, I still don't think they get past Philly. I don't care that they got all the big names. I don't care that they got the new big 3. That's the only way Durant can win a championship anyways. But that's another topic of discussion, right? Because everybody clowns on LeBron. But Durant can't win shit without 3 superstars on the team. So I really don't want to hear nothing about that. Listen, I don't think they get past Philly, but this does make them better. It does make them more of a threat, but what are you going to do? Put the whole East All-Star squad on your team and then still losing the finals in 7? I mean,
it'd be interesting. With Andre Drummond lurking, if they were able to land him too.
I just don't think you can.
I don't know where he fits. That'd be their third center.
Yeah, I mean,
Blake, he can play the 4, I guess, but he doesn't stretch the floor. I mean, I don't know. If you told me in 2015 I could have James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Andre Drummond, I think you're on drugs because that on NBA 2K, I'm gonna kick some people's ass with this team here when that roster updates. But in real life, you're right. Chemistry's huge. Durant's been out. Dude, I like Philadelphia. I really do. They're the number one team in the East. And
I think Doc solidify makes them legitimate.
I agree. And I'll give them love when we get to our awards.
Right.
But I don't think there's no chance Brooklyn doesn't come out of the East. I just don't think there's no way that can out. Yeah, they can't defend, but can anybody score 140 a night on them?
But let's look at it like this. They're already having a situation where they can't have all three of those guys on the same court at the same time, right? And Durant's hurt and has been out for most of this time. And they're having a problem having Kyrie and James. There's only one basketball with two of the most ball-dominant players in the NBA currently, right? You're going to add Durant back to that mix. Now, Durant is fine with. He dealt with Clay and Steph really being ball dominant. Well, Steph mainly being ball dominant. He's fine being the third party trick, whatever you want to call it, until it gets to crunch time, right? And then in crunch time, you go to Durant all the time. So that's what I want to see, is them get in a 7-game series and maybe go down 2-1 or 3-2. And then Durant's going to want to be the man again because he is. He's the best player on that team. And then you're going to see the self-implosion because it's coming. This is a guy in Kyrie who won a championship with LeBron, and the next year he wanted out. And I get it. Maybe him and LeBron were like oil and water, and they just didn't mix, and that's fine. Not everybody's for everybody. And Durant seems to be for everybody because he's more of a beta personality. He's not really an alpha. So he fits in with the room. He reads the room. He's better at that maybe than LeBron. But listen, man, I just don't see them as true contenders. I think whoever comes out of the West, whether it's the Clippers, the Utah Jazz, or the Lakers, they beat them in 7 without a doubt. I just do. You got two of the biggest head cases in the NBA. You got Mr. I'm going to eat my way out of Houston, and you got Mr. The world is flat. So, I mean,
It's going to be it doesn't change anything. If Blake Griffin's not there, I still think they're winning these. Now that he's there, it's a very good – he's probably their best bench player. You can't go wrong getting –
Well, really, Kyrie's your best bench player, right? Because Kyrie –
they all – technically, they all start.
Right.
It adds depth. It's a good move. It doesn't tip the scales, but to me, it's just insane. I think back.
It changed the landscape because somebody else doesn't get them to improve their roster.
Right. I feel like the Lakers could have benefited from having a guy like Blake Griffin, especially since Marc Gasol's been so bad and that Anthony Davis is hurt. Not granted, Griffin's not near Anthony Davis, but he's a good fill-in. But him and LeBron, listen.
I think Montrezl Harrell is better than Blake Griffin, though.
Who?
Montrezl Harrell is better than Blake Griffin.
I agree, but Blake Griffin could be a good bench player. You have LeBron throw some blobs up to him.
But you already got Harrell coming off the bench, right? Like Harrell is when AD is back. Harrell is the sixth man, right? So
Harrell can play the 4 and the 5. They could have made that work.
No, listen, I'm not saying it doesn't make them better, but how much better? I think it's minuscule for the Lakers, and I honestly think it's minuscule for the Brooklyn Nets. This isn't Blake Griffin before we figured out really what he was. This is Blake Griffin now that we know what he is.
Yeah.
He's a high-flying dunker, Lob City. He'll get you maybe 5 to 6 rebounds. I don't think
he might get you 10 and 4 off the bench.
Right. I don't think he tips the scale at all for any team that's a contender, right? Like
he's the good piece to have off the bench, and that's about
he
it.
Is.
They got him for cheap. It's a 1-year, $1.25 million minimum deal.
Yeah, it's a great rental price, right? They got a great rental for 1 year. They're going to push all the chips in and try and win the championship this year.
Yep.
Because I think they're on borrowed time because either Kyrie's going to – unfortunately, I think Kyrie's the odd man out. I think he goes.
Yeah, we'll see how tight him and Katie's friendship is here probably within the next year or so.
I think he goes.
I wanted your take on the All-Star game. Number one, LeBron, Steph, and Giannis can never, ever, ever, ever be on the same team in real life. Ever. I cannot. The NBA would be over. So LeBron's out there just. Giannis didn't miss a damn shot.
No, he went
Steph didn't
16 for
miss.
16, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Steph didn't miss a damn three. And LeBron was just like dribbling real slow. And the game was super slow for him. And he's just passing out dimes to people. I think it was like 170 to 150, something crazy.
Yeah, they were up by quite a bit, and then it ended up being only up by 20 to finish the game. They were at 20 at halftime, and then they finished at 20.
There's nothing relevant that comes from winning the All-Star game? Is there home court or anything that comes from that?
You just get more cash. That's it. I think it's 300,000 versus 100,000 or something like that for the winners. No, there's no bragging rights, right? But I mean, they're talking these goofy stats. LeBron's undefeated 4-0 since he's drafted. Well, look at who he's picked every year. Steph Curry. Except for the year he couldn't pick him when they were against each other, right?
Steph, Luka, Jokic, LeBron, and Greek Freak as your starting five.
Yeah, I mean it's filthy. I mean,
Chris Paul, Paul George, Damian Lillard's your sixth man. Gobert's the last guy coming off your bench.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the defensive player of the year, in my opinion, coming off your bench, averaging 3 blocks a game, coming off your bench.
Off your bench.
That's crazy. That's nuts, right? Like, listen, All-Star game is what it is. I mean, it's just a big, fun fantasy game. It's like being able to. It's like playing NBA 2K. It's like playing NBA 2K in real life. Is what it's like, right? Like, I mean. You got Steph pulling up from half court, Damian Lillard doing the same. Like, they're just having fun. Like, it was never going to be a competitive game.
Ain't nobody getting sacked in the Pro Bowl. They're throwing bombs. It's
I think LeBron's team scored 100 points in the first half.
Yeah, it was 100 to 80 at halftime.
Right, and it ended up being like 170 to 150, right? So they slowed down in the second half, right? But yeah, I mean, it was nuts. I mean, I only watched the first half. I'm not going to lie to you. I only watched the first half. LeBron didn't play as much as I thought he was going to, but, he's resting. He's resting. You know what I mean? I mean, he's carrying too much for his franchise at this point, right? So, which is why we'll get to what I'm, when we talk in the next segment about awards and stuff. That's why. That's the main reason why, for me about him. So, yeah, listen, it's fun for what it is. I thought the 3-point contest was really good this year because Curry made it closer. Curry made it closer than it needed to be. I mean, he kind of took it not as serious as he thought, but you saw when he hit those 2 green money balls, I mean, they were locked in, guaranteed. And then I think he went 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6 on the last round. I mean, the guy is the best shooter in the history of the NBA. No, I don't think there's anybody even close to him.
Dude, and he's still got years to come.
And if there is a second guy close to him, I think it's probably Clay, and he's his teammate, right? We just forget about Clay because he's been hurt, which is terrible for Clay, right? 2 prime years he's lost to injuries, devastating injuries. I'm interested to see what happens this year or next year when Clay comes back, because if Clay continues to get injured, you got to blow up, the Warriors. Steph will never go anywhere, but you got to figure. I mean, Steph, you're losing prime years of Steph right now by not being able to figure out another superstar, which is hurting him. Because I believe if you put another legit superstar with Steph, they're competitive in the West with just Steph and somebody else. But they've missed, with 2 guys that they've tried to bring in that just didn't work out, right? So,
which will lead us to this. So we'll go through the rumors real quick. They're trying to swing a trade for Victor Oladipo. So the Houston Rockets are pretty much everybody's available. There's not one person on that team not available except Christian Wood because he's injured and honestly probably their best player at this point. But he's injured, so I guess they could move him, but it makes no logical sense to move the guy. They got him for 3 years, $40 million, which is a bargain, and the dude was balling before he got hurt.
Yeah.
So Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker. I don't see anybody swinging a trade for John Wall with that contract. It's not going to be that simple.
The albatross is going to
But
follow him forever until that
Victor
contract's over.
Oladipo, they offered him a contract. He said no. They offered him, I think, a 3-year, $64 million deal, and he turned it down. I guess Oubre would have to be moved, but Oubre, I think, hasn't fit. I think it's funny, okay, because Golden State is out there looking for a ball handler. And they could have drafted LaMelo, and they took Wiseman instead in a league where centers don't matter as much. Like LaMelo could have served as the ball handler, and you probably could have swung Oubre and 2 first-round picks to Cleveland for Drummond, and you would have had your center too. And Drummond's better at this point. Well, he's going to be better than Wiseman maybe overall. We'll see. I like Wiseman. I don't want to hate on the kid, but
I like Wiseman too, but he's young and he's learning the game.
But everybody's like, "Oh my God, Clay's coming back! Oh my God!" Act like he can't play. They can't play 3 fucking guards, and Clay can't play the 3. Play Draymond at the 4, and play whoever the hell. Dude, when they were beating us in the finals, they were using random guys at the 5. Andrew Bogut on his last legs.
Yeah, but as good as LaMelo is, right? Next year you could have traded him, and look what you would have got.
A ransom. Like if you want draft picks, you could get a.
You want draft picks. You want a player. You want you would have got whatever you wanted for him because the kid's going to win Rookie of the Year going away. Like he was a surefire hit. Unfortunately, he was affected by his brother and his father, and it's just the way it is, right? So, unfortunately, Derek Carr has been judged forever because of his brother. I mean, it's one of the things. Like, unless your brother's Peyton Manning, you don't get the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, you get kind of hosed in the deal.
And when you get Clay, I don't know, but they're pushing hard for either Otto Porter Jr. or Victor Oladipo right now, but they're asking for Wiseman in the deals, which Golden State's automatically stepping back and saying no. They said they will only trade James Wiseman or the Timberwolves lottery pick if they can get Joel Embiid or the Greek Freak. So neither of those are happening. So Oladipo would be a good fit. Some other rumors I want to get your thoughts on. So we talked about Drummond a lot, so we'll talk about him later. Kevin Love still injured, but Dallas has shown a lot of interest because they want that stretch 4 because Porzingis has been not very good at all this year. Sacramento showing interest and maybe giving an expiring Harrison Barnes contract to kind of solidify their 4 there, put him next to Bagley.
I'm fine with the Harrison Barnes deal as long as we can re-sign Harrison Barnes. I think, unfortunately for him, he went to a bad situation when he left Golden State. He had a couple bad years. Right. He had a couple bad years, and it affected his value. But Harrison Barnes is still very valuable to me. I think he has a very good future in the NBA still, 4 to 5 more years of production. I'm fine with that trade. I don't want to deal with Dallas because most likely Porzingis comes back in that trade. And what the hell are we going to do with him? They couldn't figure out what to do with him. What are we going to do with him? Nothing.
They would just make money match and throw in a first. We'd get like Norman Powell, a couple other guys, and a first-round pick in like 2022. To get rid of Love, like I told you before we came on, it's kind of like how Detroit did with Drummond last year, where we acquired him for Brandon Knight, John Henson, and a second-round pick just to get him off the books. I would do the same thing. And if we're dumb enough to buy out Drummond, which, like I said, we'll talk about, the money we save, I'll toss that in as like a sweetener. Like, thank you for taking this guy.
Yeah, we need to get rid of Kevin Love.
That gives us $30 more million to go into next offseason with. Like, we should have some decent cap space for the first time since LeBron left because we had all those bloated contracts left from when he was there. So we might actually be able to plug in a couple mid-tier. I don't want to go out. Obviously, if we can get a star, do it. But it's Cleveland, so we're probably not. Let's develop Sexton and Garland and Okoro and Nance. And our starting 5 is pretty solid with just them. But if we can grab another mid-tier guy and throw them in the mix, we could be a pretty good team. We just need more offense. We're going
to have a homegrown. If we get a star, it's going to have to be a homegrown superstar. I mean, it is what it is. Like, as long as Dan Gilbert is our owner, people just stars just don't want to play for him. He had the greatest player arguably in the NBA history, and he chased him out of town by his antics and his unwillingness to.
I mean, if they're like, I mean, not that I'd want this guy, but if you could say, hey, LaMarcus Aldridge, give you 1 year, $28 million to come here and play the 4 for us and be the veteran presence, I'd take him over. I like Deion Wade. He's been playing really well. And everybody, I said Deion, not Dwayne. It confuses me too.
Right.
But he's averaging like 17 and 10 over like his 7 starts. He's actually, I think Cleveland's 5-2 with him in the lineup.
He's doing really well. I mean, he's impressed me.
He's a young guy, but you can get an Aldridge. There's not a lot of 4s available though. Like Jabari Parker's a guy that could be thrown in the Sacramento deal. We just need a veteran presence that doesn't cost $35 million a year. And that, I'm referring to, yes, Kevin Love. Bakley says give Okru a year to develop. I agree. I leave him at the 3. You keep him and Osman together. You have Garland and Sexton up there. I'd probably prefer a veteran backup point guard for Garland, but can't have everything. I want to keep Larry Nance. He's a valuable guy to either start at the 4 or come off the bench. Jared Allen's already there. Yep. And then McGee, Drummond, the rest of those guys, shop them, see what you can get for them. Draft capital, clear some cap room. We'll see. We're probably 2 years away from even being a playoff team, even though next year they could make some noise depending on if they just hit on one more damn draft pick. We need a scorer. We'll see. Other rumors. Well, Marcus Aldridge, that him to Golden State is still being talked about. Do you even think that's a good fit?
I mean, what really is LaMarcus Aldridge anymore? I mean, it's, that's another, the ship has sailed. I kind of put him in a Kevin Love situation. I mean, he's a little more serviceable than Kevin Love, but I don't know, man. If he goes to Golden State, I mean, is he going to make that big a deal in Golden State? Is he going to make them a playoff team in Golden State? Possibly, because what are they, 9 or 10 right now? Or are they in the playoffs? I haven't
looked in the playoffs right now.
Well, I'm talking about Golden State.
Golden State, they're right on the edge.
Let's see.
Well, I mean, then you look at a
They're
trade
9, right? They're 9. So, I mean, they're right behind Dallas, who's sneakily crept back into the playoff hunt. LaMarcus Aldridge probably moves the needle a little bit, but not enough. I mean, what are you going to have to give up? What does his salary look like? Is he a 1-year rental? Are you going to get him for 2 years? Like, what do you hope to achieve by bringing LaMarcus Aldridge? I just don't know if he is, he's definitely not a long-term solution. And so in the short term, when Clay comes back next year, does he have a spot, or is he cut after this year? Like, what is the play there? What do you got to give up?
Here's one I don't understand. Kyle Lowry to the Philadelphia 76ers. I know he's from Philly. He'd love to end his career there. I don't necessarily know what Philly would have to give up to make this deal work. I mean, I know Danny Green, his deal's pretty bloated salary-wise. They could probably throw in another guy and maybe one of those young guards like Milton or there's that guy starts with a T with the long-ass last name, the European guy. I was just Sixers on 2K, so the roster's somewhat in my mind.
Right.
Or hell, I wouldn't give up Tyrese Maxey, but if I'm Toronto, I'd ask for him. But does that even do anything for Philly at this point? Another guard?
I mean, it gives them a scoring point guard, right? So like you got a guy
at the 4.
I mean,
that's the guy's name.
Yeah, Thibault. Yeah. Listen, it gives them a scoring point guard, I think, right? And now, does that solve their problem? I mean, they're in pretty good shape right now. I don't know what you really, because if you put him at the 4, if you put Simmons at the 4, he'd really play like a point forward, right? And I guess
Harris plays the 3.
Yeah, I mean, but then who do you send to the bench is the key, right? Like, what are you losing productivity-wise from the 4? because Simmons is not a stretch four.
No,
he's not going to stretch
you're
your
going to depend on Embiid because he's the stretch 5.
right.
But Simmons can't shoot.
I don't know what the Lowry trade really does.
Yeah, they're 24-12. They're first in the East. I mean, Simmons is banged up right now. You could trade Danny Green, who right now is the 3. Tobias Harris right now is the 4.
Tobias Harris?
Yeah, my bad. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think
I'm
that
not.
trade
I'm
makes
not
any
putting
sense.
Harris to the bench to lose scoring from Harris.
Frankly, I think they'd have to send Green in the trade
Yeah, Green probably goes in the trade.
because
Maybe
he
you
would
move
have to
Tobias to the
money.
3, or you put. I guess you'd have to put
Lowry's
Tobias.
contract's like $31 million, I think.
Yeah,
It's
they're going
over
to have
30.
to match salary there.
I mean, that might take Green. I don't know. I'm not going to look up how much they're all making, but that could almost. Yeah, I mean, Green would make sense on that end, and it'd still be he's played for the damn Raptors before, so it'd be the Raptors. I don't think are going to compete for anything this year. Sorry, Archie, but I just don't think they are. So it'd be an expiring deal to clear up some cap room, but it'll be interesting. I think there's going to be more trades in the NBA in the next 2 weeks in the NFL in the next week than the NBA in the next 2 weeks. I think the trade deadline is going to be a dud, but we will see. So
Are you talking about for the NBA?
Yeah, I think the NFL trade market's going to be super hot, which it normally isn't. And I think the NBA is going to be like, there's a lot of rumors, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I would
hope
agree.
I'm wrong, but me and Alex are going to do our Midseason Awards and most disappointing and most surprising team. We'll be right back after this commercial. Check out all of our badass audio podcasts. All right. We are back. All right. Disappointment. I know where I'm going with this, but I'm curious. I'm dying over here. All right. Most disappointing team so far this year for you, Alex. Who do you got?
Oh, man. I mean, I think Houston's the easy target for me because I can't believe that they let James Harden eat his way out of that city. But the team I expected the most from, I'll probably go with the Celtics as far as disappointment. I feel like they just fell off a cliff. I don't know what happened to them. What I mean? They're just it's like they can't get it together. They got 2 legit superstars in Brown and why am I dying on his name right now?
Tatum,
right, yeah. And so and they what are they, 500 or below 500?
they are 19 and 17.
19 and 17. So they've crept back, just like 2 games above 500. And now they're in the 4th seed where they were drowning. But I think they should be a top 2 to 3 team in the NBA in the Eastern Conference, right? So I don't know what the answer is there. If I have to, I think it's got to go with the Celtics, but Houston is disappointing for other reasons.
I'm going Atlanta. And
okay.
I had hope. I had high hopes for this team after getting Gallinari and Bogdanovich, who was supposed to go to Milwaukee, but they came in and swooped them. Trae Young, John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella, Kevin Huerter, Gallinari, Reddish, Bogdanovich. I mean, that's a pretty damn solid top 9 in the Eastern Conference, and they're not even in the playoffs right now. That roster is loaded. I know they just fired their coach, and a lot of people around the NBA think that's going to really help them and put them over the top because the coach was a bad fit. A couple of the players that already came out was like, thank God he's gone. But firing the coach at midseason, unless you're the Cavs and fire David Blatt and hire somebody LeBron wants, it typically doesn't work. So I think they're going to continue to be a disappointment. I know they're shopping John Collins, and you had mentioned to me before you'd love the Cavs to go target him.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I know he's due at least the mid-level max extension would be what he gets, and that's why he's being shopped by Atlanta in the first place, I think, because they're like, he doesn't fit, and we got DeAndre Hunter, we got Gallinari now for a couple of years. We're not going to pay this guy. They also have the guy Okongwu from USC that they drafted like top 10, I think. Rondo hasn't played worth a shit. Just a very disappointing team. I expected them to honestly be a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think Trae Young is one of those guys that you can talk about in a few years that's a legit superstar. The dude could shoot. Clint Capella is a solid center. I thought John Collins could be that. They're still missing that number 2 guy, it looks like. They've tried draft picks.
It just doesn't fit. It's weird. I didn't expect it to be clunky, but it looks clunky.
No, it does. Like DeAndre Hunter, good player. Cam Reddish, good player. I mean, they got a lot of good players. They just don't fit together. I don't know if it's the coaching or what, but you don't really get better firing a coach in midseason and bringing in another guy. So maybe
because he's going to try and institute his system, or he's just going to let him play pickup ball, basically. Like, go out there and, score points. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what sets does he run? It's never a good choice to me to fire your coach midseason.
It only worked for the Cavs because they had completely different situation. They had a ready team. Just David Blatt was a complete jackass.
Right.
Tyloo was already there, but it's going to be interesting because they could still sneak in the Eastern Conference. I mean, the Wizards are 2 games out of the 8 seed. The Cavs are 3. The Pistons are last, and they're technically 7, and the Pistons are awful. So, I mean, it's the East. I mean, you look at the West. The West is much, much – there's only 2 teams out of the top 8 that have a chance really to get in. So, it's the Eastern Conference, so we'll see. So, who is your most surprising team this year?
I gotta say the Brooklyn Nets. I really do. I didn't think. Listen, I knew they were going to be decent, right? But the way they've kind of figured out, even though it's kind of running Kyrie as a 6th man, right? They're making it work, and I didn't see James Harden. Once they made that trade, I didn't see Harden and Kyrie working this well together, and other guys are playing really good besides them. So if I'm being honest, I think they're the most surprising team to me. Now, Utah's real easy, right? Nobody predicted Utah. But if you watched the bubble last year, Utah was really good.
Yeah, I thought they'd be a top 4 seed.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm 100% honest, it's the Nets. I just didn't think it was going to work this fast and this well.
I'm staying in that same state with the Knicks because they're playing really freaking well this year. Julius Randle, which we talked about, 23-11. I mean, this is a guy that people forgot. Another Kentucky guy that got lost in the shuffle there, got lost in the shuffle in the league, bounced around a tad, and now he's found a good spot in New York. R.J. Barrett playing well. Elfrid Payton, another lost guy, is playing well. Derrick Rose. Look at Thibodeau using these guards like he did in Chicago. Quickly, the other guard from Kentucky's playing great. And people forget they're doing all of this with like little to no production from 3 of their top pick, 4 of them. So that terrible point guard they took out of Europe a few years ago, Netakina, he's not even seeing the floor. Kevin Knox from Kentucky, he's not doing nothing. Obi from Dayton is barely touching the floor. So you have all these high lottery picks that aren't producing, and you're still, I think they're the 6th seed in the East, and I think they're the best they're a top 5 defensive team in the NBA. I think they're the top defensive team in the Eastern Conference right now. Thibodeau's got them playing well.
I mean, Thibodeau always gets the most on defense. Always.
If Boston fucks around and gets caught at that 3 seed and the Knicks are a 6, Boston might be done in the first round the way they're playing. Yeah, right now it'd be Boston and the Knicks, 4 and a 5, 4 versus 5. I would pick the Knicks in that series as the way they're playing right this second. Because Boston, there's something missing.
I could see that. Yeah, Boston just looks disjointed.
It's
out of
Marcus
sync.
Smart gets hurt, and look what happens. I think Marcus Smart is the second. Man, he might be the second most important Celtic after Tatum. No disrespect to Jaylen Brown, but Smart's like their glue guy. He takes the charge. He hits the three. He plays defense. He'll get the technical foul. He's their guy. And that depth, where'd it go? I'm looking at the roster now. Every time you get a hint of a player getting bought out, the Celtics are going to take him. I mean, the bench doesn't exist anymore. This used to be the deepest team with the most draft capital. So
everybody thought Danny Ainge was a genius. He looks like he's a kid.
I mean, Jeff Teague hasn't worked. Tristan hasn't been the greatest addition.
No. I didn't understand the Tristan move to begin with.
That was a late move, too, and that was very late in free agency. They just, I don't know. At least they didn't pay him $20 million a year. Let's get to the award portion. So where do we even start? So we'll start with rookie and work our way to MVP. LaMelo is both of our pick. Very slow start, but right. It's obvious now.
Yeah, I mean, he, like I said earlier, the doubt on him was a product of his brother and his father. That was it. It wasn't nothing else.
Tyrese Halliburton in Sacramento deserves some props, though, because he's balling out. He'd probably be honestly, he might be my 2. A lot of those lottery picks did not pan out this year.
No.
Obi, which I thought would be a freak coming from Dayton, just right down the street from where I live, hasn't done anything. Let me pull up the draft class real quick. Keep forget what year we're in. But the draft class has been bad. You see a lot more value at the end. Like I was one of the insane ones. I thought Tyreke Maxey was the best value pick in the whole draft. For the Sixers got him in like the low 20s. And if Kentucky would have been an NBA or an NCAA tournament, that kid would have been taken in the top 10 the way he was playing.
Oh, easily, yeah.
James Wiseman he got hurt. Anthony Edwards, he's picking it up. He's starting to pick it up now. Patrick Williams of Chicago hasn't really worked. Killian Hayes hasn't worked. The guy in Atlanta we just talked about hasn't worked. Jalen Smith for the Suns has played okay, but he doesn't play enough because the Suns have a very good damn team. Halliburton was the 12th pick. Cole Anthony's played well at 15, but he don't even start. I mean, if you're looking at the top 25, the 2 best players to me, the 3 players that stand out are quickly, Maxey and Ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy. I agree with you 100% there.
Were taken in the 20s.
Right.
So, I mean, just because you're a top 10 pick in the draft, sometimes it matters where you fall. Trust me, Maxey's a hell of a lot happier he's in Philadelphia than he is that he's in Sacramento or on the Pelicans or the Pistons. Nobody wants to go to Detroit anymore. But we'll segue to somebody who loves being in Detroit, and that's our most improved player, which for me would have been Christian Wood if he wasn't hurt.
Right.
Jeremy Grant's balling out. He got a huge contract, which blew everybody's mind.
Well, he doubled. If you look, he went from like 10 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, I think, to he's like 23 points, 8 rebounds or 8 assists and like 6 rebounds. I mean, he almost doubled every single one of his statistical categories. Yeah, I mean, it's insane.
12 points, 3 rebounds to 24 and 5.
Yeah, I mean,
he's shooting almost 50% from the field, almost 40% from 3. Detroit, I mean, I'm assuming Detroit, the way they're shopping this guy actively, right? Because that's what they do. I couldn't tell you another player on the Detroit Pistons roster right now. I'm so glad
but he got bought out.
I mean, I'm gonna pull up the roster just for shits and I can't name another one. They traded Derrick Rose, so they got Mason Plumlee. Okay, that's the guy.
Oh yeah, Plumlee's there. Yeah,
tons of money. Dennis Smith Jr., Okafor, he looks familiar. Jeremy Grant, Wayne Ellington. This roster is absolute trash.
Okafor's there?
Yeah, he's the
I had no
backup center
clue.
to
I had
Mason
no
Plumlee.
clue. I had no clue.
Well, he's backing up, the $20 million guy, Mason Plumlee. But Detroit's terrible. I hope this guy wins this award. He's the best thing that's going on in Detroit right now. And that is counting the Lions. We'll deal with them when football comes around. The Jazz, this was easy. It was between him and Thibodeau for me, just because the Knicks were in
Oh, see, for me, it was
shit.
between him and Doc. I think Doc was the
Dude,
solidifying
Doc took a lot of
force
shit,
for
rightfully
Philadelphia.
so.
Yeah.
But he took it on the chin, and he went to Philadelphia, and they're the number one team in the East right now.
He's turned them
Amazing,
around.
man.
I mean, if you look, when Doc went to Celtics, they were floundering, right? He turned them around. When he went to the Clippers, it took a little bit longer, but he really turned them around. Now he's with the 76 first year. All that talent, he's turned it around. Every other coach hasn't been able to figure it out. He's used to dealing with superstars and the attitude. I mean, a lot of that has to do with your coach, man. I mean, to me, he's like a modern day Phil Jackson, right? Like he's like the superstar whisperer. He just gets his best guys to play out of this world.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. It's not often we agree on this shit. It's throwing me off. We don't agree on the last one. We agree on this one too. Rudy Gobert. No,
I mean, you have to.
I picked Rudy. So it's pretty much the same reason I picked who I picked for MVP. I'm sick of Giannis winning both awards every year. Like, is he the best player in the game now? Probably. I mean, Giannis could win the MVP for the next 10 years I wouldn't complain about it, but I'm sick of it. Rudy Gobert, defensively, even though he just got shit on by the guy that I have as my MVP, is still the best defensive player in the basketball this year. He won it last year?
Yeah, he won it last year.
I mean, this dude's a freak. I like how Utah, they fly under the radar. Even the All-Star game, I mean, their two players are the last two picks. I mean, I wouldn't call it disrespect, but like your boy even said, it's hard, whatever. Hopefully they use that as momentum and give whoever the hell they end up playing. Right now, I think this team's destined for the conference finals as long as they don't run into the Lakers before then. Like, if I was doing Western Conference, it'd probably be them and the Lakers, assuming they go 1 and 2 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping they knock out the Clippers so I can laugh.
Hope the Lakers end up.
So I can stomp on the Clippers' grave again and laugh at all these clown Clipper fans.
That would be cool to see. And the Suns, man. That's a surprise team, too, that I forgot about. The Suns.
They are a surprise,
good.
But I kind of had an idea. They have the talent. They just needed Chris Paul to be the glue there. They just, show them how to win. Show them how to win.
Who would have known that Chris Paul's an upgrade over Ricky Rubio? I mean, blows my mind every time. They've been plugging point guard after point guard after point guard in there. Like, they knew they had a team. They've been looking for a point guard, so they tried Rubio. They tried to move Booker there. Booker's way better coming off the ball so he can shoot. Chris Paul.
Listen, I got to be honest with you. Chris Paul might be one of the most underrated players in the history of the NBA. Yes, he just wins in every system he plays in, everywhere he goes. He's either the best player on the team or the second best player on the team. It looks like all the time. Like
when New Orleans was good back in the day, he was a big reason for that.
He's on the end of his career, and he's still got it. Like what's the difference in Phoenix this year? Him. That's the difference. Like he's the solidifying force.
I like Phoenix. Phoenix was hot last year when Chris Paul wasn't there. I mean, they went undefeated in the damn bubble.
Yep.
If you're an older team in the Western Conference, which is why, to your point about LeBron, they need to eventually minute manage the shit out of him, because you get one of these young teams that's going to be running around driving you insane on the court like the Suns, and the Lakers have to play them. Those are some young kids with some fresh legs that can shoot, and they're deep. That's why the Lakers need to add – Drummond would be such a great fit. I think they need to add maybe another 3 to spare LeBron a couple games. But
it looks like they need a shooter, another shooter. Like
they do.
KC3, as they like to call him, is not, KC3 this year. I don't know. He looks not impressive.
He got paid for his finals last year.
Yeah.
He's the equivalent of Brock Osweiler in his 4 games. He had a great finals, and here he is. Me and Alex are going chalk everything up until the end. Jordan Clarkson, this isn't even close. Lou Williams isn't having that great of a year. There's nobody even really close. Jordan Clarkson just had like a 50-point game not too long ago where he made over 10 threes. It's not even – where was this Jordan Clarkson when he was with Cleveland?
Oh, I actually the same thing. I don't know. He showed glimpses of it in L.A. before they traded him. That's why we got him, right? And then he didn't do nothing. And then he goes to Utah. And listen, I think it has a lot to do with Quinn Snyder. I think it has a lot to do with the players there. You got Donovan Mitchell, who's a legit superstar, probably one of the most understated superstars besides Gobert.
He would be the
both
most
of them.
underrated person in the NBA.
Both of them are him and Gobert are super underrated, right? And they just show up every day, do their job. They don't got a lot of commercials. They're not flashy. They're not, you know what I mean? And they just kill the game. You know what I mean? They outwork everybody on the court. It looks like almost all the time. And so maybe that culture just, that Quinn Snyder has instituted there is just, like fire for everybody that goes there and just lights them up. You know what I mean? Because Jordan Clarkson's playing, he looks like a totally different player than who we had in Cleveland.
Yeah, and the other nominees don't really measure up. Boucher from the Raptors would probably be my number 2 because he's had a really good year. But, Lou Williams is being shopped for an upgrade at guard. They're in the Kyle Lowry.
You could put Montrezl Harrell in that conversation, but numbers-wise, I don't think he'll match up. I think he's averaging like 14 and 6 or something like that.
Aaron Gordon, he's averaging 18 and a half. Aaron Gordon would be a nice get for the Lakers.
Yeah, he had some grittiness, but how many minutes is he going to get?
He's playing 30 right now with the Rockets.
He ain't playing 30 with the Lakers, though. There's not.
I'm just saying.
You got Alex Caruso. You got too many guys coming off the bench there.
Well, this is a guy that can.
They need a legit center because Gasol is. I don't know what they were thinking.
You like Gasol.
No, God, no. That was a terrible signing. Why didn't you bring Dwight or JaVale McGee back? One of those two. They worked in your system. Like
JaVale McGee, I still think Cleveland's going to shop him. I think he's available. He's only making like $3 million this year.
They could
throw in something and grab.
They could cut him, and then the Lakers would be in his market. I guarantee you, in his inbox.
We need to not cut people and at least get second-round picks for people. Doing nothing as a Cavs fan. It's doing nothing for us. Just to keep buying people out.
Right.
And MVP, our only difference. You got LeBron. I got Embiid.
Yeah, listen. LeBron to me is still the best player in the NBA, and for what he's doing without Anthony Davis. Yeah, they're losing games, but they have a lot of decent pieces. But without Anthony Davis, so he had Anthony Davis down and Schroeder, and he still managed to win like 2 games, which was amazing to me because where's the other offense coming from on that team? Like, there isn't a lot of offensive stall. You know what I mean? There's just not. KC3 is not doing well this year, in my opinion. Anthony Davis, we'll see what he looks like. I think Anthony Davis, I don't think he's going to be back this first game coming up here on Wednesday or Thursday. Right. Says the Philly guy. Says the Philly homer. Easily Embiid.
Dude, Marcus stats are terrible.
Yeah, horrendous. Right. Listen, Bakley, of course, is going to pick a Philly guy. Bakley's still delusional. I think that the Eagles are going to compete this year. So I don't regard his opinion on sports when it comes to Philly players at all. So, yeah, listen, Embiid is having a great year. I'm not going to say he's not in the conversation, right?
He just destroyed our defensive player of the year.
Sure. That's fine. He's got very good skills. I'm not going to argue with you that he's not skilled, right? But if he played in the West, we're not talking about him in the MVP candidate. I'm sorry, we're not.
But I can't.
When he's playing the best week in and week out. I get what you're saying, but I'm looking at who's the most valuable player. Joel Embiid goes down. Joel Embiid goes down in the East. The Sixers can still compete. They're not going to be the number 1 seed, but they'll still make the playoffs. If LeBron James goes down, where are the Lakers? Out of the playoff picture. That's legit, 100%. So who's more valuable?
Colin Sexton, because he's the last, because he lit up and beat. Because listen, the last team to beat the Sixers was the Cavs.
I know.
I'm just talking with you. I was looking at the Sixers schedule because they just beat the Jazz. Like, they're playing really well.
My thing is you just look at the league, right? If a number 1 star goes down on most of these teams, right? If Anthony Davis is healthy and LeBron goes down, the Lakers are. I don't know if they make the playoffs. That's legit.
Well, we're about to see, because Embiid and Simmons are both out Thursday for contact tracing because they were taken out of the All-Star game.
And who do they play?
The Bulls.
They're going to get rough shot
Because
run
the
over.
Bulls are playing
Levine
well,
is
said earlier.
Levine is playing well, so
right.
the Bulls are going to run over Philly.
Team. I don't know if the Eastern Conference just sucks that bad, or
I don't think it sucks that bad. I just think,
but the Bulls are all of a sudden in the playoff hunt, and they were god awful for the last 5 years. Now the Knicks are a 6 seed; they're a 5 seed right now. I mean, what the hell happened over the last 2 years? I don't know, because both of those teams would be an 8 or a 9 in the West. So
if that, because would their record be as good as it is right now if they're in the West?
It's interesting. Bakley's right. They are 30 points a game, 13 rebounds. He's having the best year of his career, and I credit it a lot to Doc. Doc would be an honorable mention for me for Coach of the Year too, because he went in there and they've had that talent for years. And nobody's been able to figure out how to use it. Do we trade Embiid? Do we trade Simmons? Oh, my God, they don't work together. We have to trade one of them. He's making it work. They're the number 1 team in the East. Simmons is having one of his better years.
Who are the other 2 legitimate centers in the league right now? Where do they play?
Jokic is in the West.
Gobert is in the West. What other legit center is in the East? Don't look it up. Tell me off the top of your head.
Giannis. But he's not a center.
Is Giannis really a center?
No, but he's like 7'5". So
but is Giannis really a center?
Technically, no. He's a 3
forward.
or 4. Hell,
he's a 4. He's a stretch
forward.
Exactly. He's more of a LeBron mold, even though he's 7'5", right?
I mean, you're right. You pull up the centers. You got Towns, who's in the West. Gobert, West. Porzingis, West. Nurkic, West. You have the dude in Utah, or not Utah, but Orlando. I can't pronounce his damn name. Vucevic,
yeah.
Aton's in the West. Valanciunas is in the West. Bam.
But there's really, I mean, let's be honest. There's
Bam's probably the second best center in the East.
But there's 2 real legit centers besides Embiid left in.
Jokic was my number 2 in MVP.
Right. And so that's my thing is like, I get it. He should dominate. And he did dominate Gobert, which gives him a nice check in the box, right? I mean, it's good. It's impressive, right? But if you match up Giannis on him, I don't think he has great numbers. I don't. He's not a better athlete than Giannis. He can't match that length of Giannis, right? The thing is like we don't give credit to Wilt Chamberlain for scoring 100 points because he's playing against 5'8" guys. Like Embiid is a product of there's not very many great centers left that play in the NBA anymore. It's just a fact. It's a fact of the.
Which is why it still blows my mind that Golden State is shopping for a ball handler, and LaMelo Ball was just sitting right in front of the damn face, and they could have literally.
And they took Wiseman.
It's probably good for the Western Conference that they didn't, because LaMelo and Drummond, because you could have fucking traded Oubre or Wiggins to Cleveland for Drummond, because they're shopping one of those 2 guys, and salaries would have matched up. You throw in a first-round pick, because Golden State doesn't care about first-round picks. They got the Timberwolves first-round pick. They can trade a couple of their own. Cleveland just needs draft capital. That's it. They don't care where it is.
Timberwolves pick is going to be much better than Golden State's.
Yeah. They're not going to give him up for a rent-a center, though. They said they'd only trade that pick for Giannis or Jokic, which will never
Of
happen.
course, neither one of them are getting traded.
Because that's another lottery pick, even though, watch, they'll pair that with something and go grab somebody next offseason, but whatever.
Probably somebody will be dumb enough to trade him too.
Well, you're going to get Clay back. Oubre and Wiggins. You can probably pair Wiggins with that lottery pick and go grab you something and use his salary to match. We'll see.
Yeah, here Kawhi's looking for a new team. He figured out he's not going to win any more championships. You know, that the Western Conference is as hard as it was when he left to go to the Eastern Conference, and now he came back and thought, oh, man, I'm going to make it work in the Clippers, and he's not. And so, you know, good for him. He'll probably go to Golden State. I mean, that sounds like a
Kawhi?
Yeah, that sounds like a another big three to try and beat LeBron. But LeBron's not the best ever to play the game, though. Guys just keep joining forces to beat him.
Kawhi doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to jump and join a team, because if that was the case, he'd probably be on the Lakers right now. He doesn't want to be that secondary guy. He wants to be the guy.
He didn't want to live in LeBron's shadow. He wanted to be the best, in the NBA. But he doesn't have that man on. He's not going to get it.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be the man. Like, he doesn't want the spotlight. If he goes to the Lakers and they struggle, they're going to probably blame him. He doesn't want that kind of shit. So
yeah, because they're not going to blame LeBron. Because LeBron's going to be Mr. Consistent, done what he's done his entire career.
Blame LeBron is that guy on Fox who just got 4 years, $32 million, and Skip Bayless, and now he's about to get his own show where he's going to be a judge because ESPN offered him 4 years, $36 million to come back after they just laid off half their staff to try to get him back on First Take. The fact that Skip Bayless is worth that much money makes me not ever want to make fun of anybody's take again, because that guy's takes are so far out in left field that it's insane. But that dude is worth so much damn money now. There's a place for idiots in sports. Not that Nick idiot that bounces around chats that I know.
How much you think Stephen A is worth? There's another guy that makes bad take after bad take.
He does, but at least he brings something to he's a very smart NBA guy. You can put him on
listen, he's very educated.
Yeah,
he brings some facts or some stats to back up fabricated facts, but the guy's a clown, dude.
Well, yeah, and that's part of his charm. Skip just pisses. It's a difference, though. First Take's like the highest rated debate show. Undisputed.
It was.
Well, still, Undisputed's like the 48th ranked show on morning television, but you just shelled out all this money for Skip. Shannon Sharp's contract's up in August, so what are you going to give him? Because he's the best part to me. I enjoyed watching the back and forth.
Oh, yeah. I think Shannon is the best part of that show. I mean, when Skip and Stephen A were on together, I couldn't watch the show. I mean, it's just like, oh my Lord, which idiot do I want to listen to less? I mean, no offense, man. Like, they're both titans in their industry, but I don't enjoy either one of their shticks. It's just not a thing to me.
I enjoy them more separately than together.
Sure.
I think Max is an absolute, basically right. Shannon does do a fantastic job, and he's a football guy, and he's really educated.
Well, he's intelligent because he was in the NFL for as long as he was. He played with, top five greatest quarterback of all time. He was. There are a lot of connections with him and great football players. I mean, he went and played with Ray Lewis in Baltimore. Like, he's got a lot of connections, and the guy understands the entirety of the game, not just his position. So, it's not just conjecture and what Skip throws out there. It's actual knowledge from playing the game.
Dude, I showed him some love. I think he was my third-rated Bronco after Elway and Davis. Like, Shannon Sharp's a beast.
Oh, yeah, listen, yeah, I mean, he's in that GOAT conversation at tight end. I mean, it's granted, it's still Gronk and Tony Gonzalez at the top.
I love his responses when they tell him it's Tony, and he's like, hold on, I'm too busy looking at all these rings that I helped win.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, man, I mean, it is what it is. Like, he's definitely got more accolades.
He came on Undisputed, and he was like, Tony's like, yeah, I'm the best. And he's like, hold on. Me and Gronk are over here counting our rings real quick. Because he even mentioned it after the Super Bowl. He's like, yeah, Gronk got another one too. Like, Tony, We can't hear you, man. We can't hear you. Stats don't mean shit. Because Shannon's whole thing is if Gonzalez is better than him, Peyton's better than Tom. Because Peyton is better than Tom in most statistical categories. It's literally the same thing, except the excessive amount of rings that Brady has is so overwhelming. I saw Joe Montana.
Well, I mean, 3-0 is overwhelming too, though. I mean, if you're being honest, yeah, I mean,
7 and Gronk's got 4. Sharp has 3.
3. He's got 2 with
2 with Denver, 1 with Baltimore.
1 with Baltimore, yeah.
And he was smart and he could block. I really like Shannon Sharp a lot. If he doesn't end up staying at Fox, I don't know where he goes, but it wouldn't be the worst career move if he splits up with Skip.
I mean, listen, if ESPN is smart, I'd throw some money at him because you're going to bring a lot of fans over with him. That I mean,
smart. Is Max the guy for Stephen A, though? Like, I feel like Stephen A and Shannon would agree with each other a lot, but I would rather see them two together. That Max is just a complete jackass. Since his Brady falling off the cliff thing that he said 8 years ago, by the way, now, he lost all credibility. And some of his
I've never been a Max Kellerman fan. I like the guys.
I don't think they thought Skip was going to leave, and they had to find another guy to throw to Stephen A. So he was just he was doing that show with Michelle Beadle, Sports Nation or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Cowherd left. I can't believe you spent the last 15 minutes talking about sports commentators, but it's crazy how ESPN, like Cowherd was on Sports Nation. Now he's like the highest paid sports analyst and the most watched on his show now. Then you got Skip, who's very close to Colin in money now. Stephen A's making, I think, more than both of them. Max, I think, is making a good $6-7 million. It's insane. That means there is life for people that aren't athletic enough to play sports. Look at Skip. Look at him. Stephen A can't play basketball. You've seen him shoot. They've shown him on TV. Skip, damn well.
I mean, he played in high school, I guess, or college. I don't know. There was a picture. I don't know if you saw that picture, but
Shannon's my favorite. But I'm working in the morning and I never get to watch Undisputed. And by the time I get home, I don't care about it because there's so much other shit to watch. And by the time
I'm a big Cowherd fan.
I like Cowherd.
I have been.
Cowherd was always my favorite.
Been from ESPN.
Yeah,
and Shannon's probably my second favorite. I mean, they're very close. And I just tolerate Skip. I tune off everything that Stephen A is on. I'm not going to lie to you. He's just loud, and not that he's not intelligent, because he's very intelligent, very informed, but it's just stick to me. And it's just, it is what it is.
I feel like he's playing.
I do love the videos where he makes fun of Skip, though, about the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, those crack me up when he just laughs every time they would lose. Like,
dude, he goes in on the Cowboys.
Yeah. That's my only part of his shtick that I enjoy. The rest of it I could do without. That's
fair. My parents could do without it as well. I live in I grew up in a Cowboys household. They can't stand
it. Oh man, yeah.
And they're still. We don't know about this Dak deal, but I was like, hey, you won't have to hear about it. So we're all happy about that.
Yeah.
But all right, before we wrap it up, check out all of our other live shows that we have over here at The Buzz.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute it's chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you all know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by a locksmith. On the block throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look with the top dish. Tie game, through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, switch.
We got what you want when you want it. I keep forgetting about that damn phrase when I need to use it in my everyday life, but whatever. Anyway, Alex, thank you again for joining me. Next week is probably my so last year this show wasn't even a thing until like mid-April. So this will be my first free agency kind of show. So we'll just It's going to be NFL. We did midseason basketball. Basketball's easing back in after their week and a half off or whatever. I think the games start back up Thursday and Friday. But next Wednesday and I think Tuesday night, as we're on the air, signing period actually starts to where you can actually negotiate and you can get the deals ready. Then at midnight, they become official. Deshaun Watson, is he going to get traded? That's something that could be happening sooner rather than later. If quarterbacks, Winston, Aaron Jones just hit the market. He didn't get franchised. Hunter Henry's a free agent, free to go wherever he wants. I mean, there's tons of huge names.
Yeah, I mean, Shaq Barrett's possibly going to hit the market. I mean,
Shaq Barrett did not get tagged either. So he's technically going to hit the market.
Kenny Galladay's on the market.
Yeah. Juju's on the market. Bud Dupree's on the market.
T.Y. Hilton. I mean, there's a lot of guys on the market.
We'll kind of go through everything, tell you what's happening. Hopefully shit's breaking as we're on because I know they can negotiate on Tuesday.
That'd be great. I'd be happy if, we get a couple signings like the Browns signing Shaq Barrett or somebody cool like that.
Yeah, New England will be the people. New England.
They're going to be heavy buyers in this market. I feel like for the first time, free agency for you is an exciting period.
It is. In the past, I know their free agency doesn't start until like June when like everybody's signed and they're like, what scraps are left for us to go through? But right now, Jonnu Smith is a guy I want them to target. I don't want Hunter Henry. I ain't paying a guy $14 million to miss 6 games a year. I'd rather have a Jonnu Smith for a nice $4, $5, $6 million a year that he's actually going to play and maybe help mentor these young guys and get them ready. I want a Josh Reynolds or a Curtis Samuel more than I want a Juju or a Kenny Galladay. I'd rather get 2 or 3 more mid-tier guys and have 5 good receivers instead of having 1 great and 3 shit.
Yeah, I think Jonnu Smith makes the most sense in Indianapolis, but
he played for Vrabel, so he would fit. He smart player, knows New England scheme a little bit because from the Vrabel thing, that'd be such a kick. I think Ertz makes the most sense still with Indy. I know that's another guy that could be traded between now and then.
Yeah, but who? If I'm Indy, I don't want Hurts. Ertz. I'm sorry, man. I think he's done.
Eagles.
I think Ertz is done.
I don't want him either, and everybody keeps linking him to New England. I'd much
send
rather
him to New England. No, Jonnu Smith can go to Indy, and they can be better, and you guys can stay in purgatory. You deserve another year in purgatory, man.
No, we don't.
You guys have been one of the most successful franchises in the history of football. You deserve a little break of, just suffering like the rest of them.
We're in process of getting back to AFC East this year.
Hey, listen, as long as Cam Newton is your quarterback, you ain't winning nothing, man.
Cam Newton is a free agent right now.
But they're supposedly he's coming back.
Me and Alex will be exclusively following the best player available in free agency, James White.
Oh, Jesus. This guy's not getting signed by nobody but New England.
James White is getting signed.
By New England, maybe.
By Tampa. He'll be Fournette's replacement.
Stop.
Hey, I told you Chris Godwin wasn't leaving because Tom said Tom's got some pull. He'll be like, hey, that dude that wears 28 New England.
Well, listen, the coach said that. He said, you ain't going nowhere either at the Super Bowl parade. I mean, Bruce Arians wanted him back. But my thing is you got Scotty Miller. You can bring back
they're going to bring
Antonio Brown on a sweetheart deal. But you could have saved that money for Shaq Barrett, who's more important to your winning than Chris Godwin is.
Well, they think that
it is what it is, man. Listen, these guys make millions of dollars to play and coach and analyze this sport, and we're just doing this for love and fun. So that maybe they know a little bit more than me, but
Brady's also restructuring his deal and possibly adding 3 option years to it, which we might be able to talk about by next week too. Because
I've heard that rumor.
So I mean, Brady could be making $10 million a year, which might free up money to bring a Shaq Barrett back. We'll see. We'll have a lot more about that.
I think Brady knows they can't win without that defense that they had last year.
They're going to have to bring back Sue.
At Sue at this point, how much is he going to make? He ain't breaking the bank.
No, him and Pierre-Paul would be probably $6 million for both back.
Pierre's getting 14. He's already signed. He's already good for another 2 years, I think.
Okay, so
I think Pierre-Paul
structure Pierre-Paul then.
I mean, listen, you could.
It's Tom's world.
I think you could clean cut Pierre-Paul. Let me see what his.
Because Mike Evans said he's going to restructure. O.J. Howard's a clean $6 million cut. You probably don't need him because he didn't even play last year most of the year. Yeah, Pierre-Paul's a $12 million cap hit. 5 of it's guaranteed. So you'd
is it 12?
You get 12-8. So you'd save 7, but you're also taking a 5 dead. I mean, Ryan Jensen, the center, $10 million. You know what scares me before we go off the air? What scares me is they can cut Ryan Jensen, their center, and they could literally offer that same $10 million to David Andrews, who's New England's center, who's a free agent right now, because Brady loves David Andrews because he was only his center for fucking 10 years. And that David Andrews could honestly be one of those guys. My bold prediction, I forget who the hell I was trying to think, my friend Nick, is that David Andrews, James White, and Edelman will all be in Tampa next year because of Tom Brady. That'd be his favorite center ever, his favorite running back ever, and his favorite receiver that he'd ever played with.
Favorite running back was
James White is his favorite running back.
Was Corey Dillon, and his favorite wide receiver was Randy Moss.
He only had him for 1 year. He can't be his favorite.
It is his favorite. What are you talking about? He broke the record with that guy.
Favorite.
Stop.
They make out on the sideline.
You like Wes Welker better than you like Edelman.
That's why they let Wes Welker go to keep Edelman. But anyway, we'll get into this next week. Alex's Browns, my Patriots, both have some money to spend. So
30 mil, son. Well, 25 million.
I think we're down to like 58 after the Trent Brown deal today. But
yeah, I mean, who's counting? When you got 58, I mean, who's counting?
Hey, it's fine. We'll have 70 by this time next week.
Shaq Barrett. Go Browns. Shaq Barrett.
Dream signing.
Yeah, listen, I mean, who do you block then? Who do you double team if you got Barrett on one side and Myles Garrett on the other?
Signing would be
a quarterback.
It wouldn't even. There's no quarterback on this market that I'm having dreams about.
Deshaun Watson wouldn't make your bed wet. Oh, okay.
My dream free agent pickup. Levante David.
Yeah, but he's signed already. He signed a 2-year deal with Tampa Bay before we came on the air.
And that was White.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. You're right. My bad.
So I'd love to put him with Hightower because our middle linebacking core was shit without Hightower. Our linebacking core and our front seven's rough, but I can't think of a defensive end. Obviously, Shaq Barrett, but New England's not paying that. We already know that. But thank you to everybody that tuned in. Me and Alex, like I said, we'll be back next week. NFL free agency, it's going to be
hitting the stride next week. Hitting stride.
We'll
already have a bunch of deals out. We'll already know. You know how they do that. They'll announce them and then
they'll be leaking all day Tuesday. So me setting up this show next Tuesday is going to be a damn mess because it's going to be move after move after move.
Should be fun.
Yep. Until next week, I'm Josh. That's Alex. We will see you guys next week.